All throughout my childhood, I've been told by the adults that kids are stupid. Kids do stupid things. And even as a kid, I recognized kids do stupid things. But also, I was a kid at the time. So, of course, I did stupid things. Everybody does. And then I started studying the brain and developments and developmental stages and psychology and the the thinking about thinking, metacognition. I spend so much time thinking. And so I realized that, oh yeah, the brain doesn't stop developing until about the age of 25. So the first 25 years is kind of the tutorial mode, and you need guidance in the tutorial mode. You need some form of boundaries, some form of rule, some form of discipline, some form of consistency, some form of safe environment to develop these skills. Safety is a very crucial thing that a child should feel. Not shame, guilt, and humiliation, but we'll get into that later. And so, if a child does stupid things and they want help to solve the stupid thing that they did, they go to somebody who is relatively competent and you go, "Hey, I did this stupid thing. I feel bad. I need your help to get out of it." Does First off, that conversation is incredibly heavy and very difficult to have. You cannot. It just getting to that conversation is what feels like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill for eternity. It feels heavy, and so when you're in these conversations, and the person you're having a conversation with shames you, humiliates you, yells at you, makes you feel smaller, even still, and then flips the conversation around and makes it all about how you made them feel because you talked about this. It's full on swapping the roles of the conversation and the roles of the child who's trying to solve the problem to the adult who has the power to help solve these problems, but they don't. They just make the problem feel 20 times bigger and worse than the original issue. And if the original issue is already painful, already difficult, already this black hole of a weight, and then you add on top how it made you feel, especially when it is supposed to be a person who's supposed to protect you, make you feel safe, make you feel love unconditionally, make you feel worthy of being around. But then you flip the script and it's all about how this issue made you feel. I'm sorry, it's not my responsibility to carry the weight of my emotions and yours. It's not. Your responsibility is for how you deal with your emotional baggage. It's not my weight to carry. You've been carrying it for your entire life, and I don't want to carry it another second longer. And so when I have an issue and I try to bring it up to you and you start yelling, you start freaking out, you start talking about money, you start talking about everything except for the source and cause of the issue that was brought up, and talking about how it makes you feel. What makes you think that the next time a big issue happens, I'm going to go back up to you? I'm going to ask you for help because you've already shown me that telling you the truth, that bringing an issue that is huge in my life up to you, opening my heart and saying, "Here, I'm vulnerable. Help me." And then you take this and you go, "You know how that makes me feel?" You're absolutely right. I don't know how it makes you feel. So I'm just going to take my heart back, put it right here, put the frickin' padlock on, put the vault door closed, slam it shut, and say, "You're right. Everything's fine. I'm not going up to you anymore. I'm not going to ask you for help because your emotions, your feelings clearly outweigh mine, and it's none of so my feelings don't matter. Awesome. So glad we had this conversation. I'm so glad that I've been pushing this boulder up this hill for all this time, and I'm tired and I'm heavy and I need help. And the people I thought were going to help me just changed it to, you know, how that I've been carrying a boulder for my entire life up this hill, and you don't see me complaining about it. That's not the point. It's not the point. Sometimes you want help, genuine, heartfelt help, but the person who is supposed to be there to help you, honestly, truthfully, has not sorted out their infinite baggage of their life. And they just expect that you'll figure it out for them. No, I know it. I've studied history to the nth degree, geopolitics to the nth degree, psychology to the nth degree, philosophy to the nth degree, different religions to the nth degree. I figured it out because that's what you told me to do. So why didn't you take your own advice and just figure it out? Especially when we have technology, infinite technology, whether it's active information, disinformation, bad information, it's still information. You touch a hot stove, that's still information. You can learn from it. It's negative information, it's very destructive information, but it's still information. It's bad information. You touch a hot stove, ow, stings. Now you got a blister, it hurts. But due to that negative information, that disinformation, you've learned an entire life lesson. You learn to never touch a hot stove again. And you're better off for it. You're more positive. Your fingers are not burned. You can cook safely. But you had to deal with the negative consequences of touching a hot stove. Sometimes you need negative information in order to figure out what the positive is. And when you have the internet, the World Wide Web of basically all of human knowledge combined, yeah, it's a matter of effort to find it, but it's there. You can find it. Because I've heard so many stories. So many stories. Well, when I was your age and I had to learn about something, I had to walk my happy ass all the way to the library, 10 miles uphill, barefoot, both ways in the snow, blah, 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 to just go read a book so I can learn that the mitochondria house is the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, cool. Well, glad I don't live in your times anymore. We live in the modern age. We have the supercomputer in your back pocket. Fingertips. It's not hard. You don't have to walk 10 miles uphill both ways in the snow. And it doesn't matter. You don't need to do that. You don't. You just got to pull out your phone and just go, how do I insert what the problem is? I'm having problems with this. Boom. You'll get 50,000 results. It's not hard. Figure it out. Because you told me that. You told me that for many years when I had a problem. And the only response was, figure it out. So I did. And then, because you spent so much time telling me to figure it out, I got to a point where I started to figure you out. And then I did. And I realized that you didn't figure it out. And you're still living to this day wondering what happened. It's because you didn't figure you out yet. With all the information, all the data, all the statistics, all the studies, all the freaking metadata, all the information at your fingertips, and you still didn't figure yourself out. You had to basically have your own offspring figure you out. So, yes, I know how it made you feel. I know exactly how I made you feel. I know exactly how you feel in this situation. I know what led you up to this decision. I know what happened to your grandparents to what made you lead to this decision. I've studied so much history, family history, public history, world history, local history. I've studied history to the point of I know why you got to this point and why you are the way you are. I figured it out, but you didn't ask enough questions. You didn't figure me out before I figured you out. You didn't figure yourself out. So it's heavy when it takes one to know one, and it leads you to a place of you never will feel understood. When you spend a whole lifetime asking everybody else questions, ask them questions, ask them questions, ask them questions, and you learn. You sit back, you observe, you absorb, you learn, you listen, you absorb, you learn, you listen, you absorb, you learn, you listen, and you do that over and over. You look at somebody who fell flat on their face, and you learn from their mistakes. And then you listen to the story of a person who did a thing and got slapped in the face with their consequences. And you go, huh, I'm going to learn from their mistakes. I'm not going to do that. And so you learn, you absorb, you learn, you absorb. But then you turn back around and you go, okay, I'm going to pause. I feel like I've learned enough for now until I need to learn more. So let's start wondering and start asking other people questions. And then you realize that they've stumbled their way blindly throughout this entire existence without asking questions because they had bumpers, they had guide rails, they had people that could just solve their problems for them. And you go, no wonder you are who you are because you didn't have to learn because somebody else just solved your problems for you. You didn't have to learn. And so you didn't have to learn who you are. And that's the difficulty. Sometimes that's why people who have been through horrible situations are the best advisors for people who are going through horrible situations. It takes one to know one. You need people who have sobered up from alcoholism in order to teach other alcoholics, hey, this is not the path. It takes one to know one. It takes a person who has attempted to end themselves to teach other people who are depressed, hey, I've been where you're at. Don't do that. So, if you're going to learn who you are when you've never asked yourself that question, and then somebody who finally asks the question for themselves and they learn who they are, and then they ask you, who are you? And you don't have an answer, it's clearly that that person doesn't know who they are. It takes one to know one. If you know who you are, then you can come up with an answer pretty easily. But if you don't know who you are, you'll just feel defensive, you'll feel attacked, and then you'll just isolate because it's too heavy of a conversation for you to have. It's too emotional of a conversation for you to have. It's too much for a conversation for you to have. You haven't sat with yourself in a quiet room without distractions, looking in a mirror and asking yourself questions long enough to find out who you are. And so, when a person finally figures out who they are, and they talk to other people who also know who they are, it's really easy. A bird of a feather flock together. And when you ask questions, you can find out who people are. You can see through them with how they respond or how they don't respond, because a non-answer is still an answer. A direct answer is an answer, but sometimes the things that are said are not nearly as heavy as the things that are not said. This seems like a bit of a rambling video, but apparently I have a lot of things to say. I just click record and start talking. I don't have a script. I'm just saying things and hoping they stick. So if you watch this and you feel like you're being heard, it's because I know. I've been there. I know all the things because I felt it. And at some point, I need my story to be heard because I felt 27 years of being ignored. And I don't feel like people really want to hear my story. Nobody has ever been curious to find out who I am. But I also have a lot of baggage I'm dealing with. I'm trying to sort out. So, just so you know, I hear you. And hopefully you hear me and hear my story. And I hope this helps somebody because that's all I want. I want to help people. I've been hurt too many times. I've been isolated too long. I want to help people. I want to hear them out and I want to give them advice and be able to make appropriate changes because at some point you realize that doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, you're just insane. And I want to do something different so I can get something different. And that requires doing something I've never done before and actually telling my story from my side, honestly, openly, without criticism. And my side of the story is very difficult because when you spend so many years feeling like nobody has an open ear to listen to your problems, you start to believe your own advice and right back into the loop. Getting into loops is very easy to do. So, hope this helps. Love y'all. Comment below your thoughts and opinions. Have a great day.